Several communities in the Eastern Cape have lodged complaints with the South African Human Rights Commission regarding the use of pit toilets in some schools. And many children have lost their lives after falling into a pit toilet. I'm now joined by Eastern Cape head of the SAHRC, Commissioner Dr. Eileen and Itumeleng Motihabane from Equal Education, who will also be joining us virtually as well. Good morning, Doctor, and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, and good morning to the viewers.
All right, firstly, let's start here. How prevalent is this problem of pit toilets? Because it seems to be making news almost every other month.
So unfortunately, it is still very prevalent, but that has to be caveated by the fact that there has been major inroads made. We must remember that pit toilets is a grim legacy of apartheid, and it shows the historical neglect and the systemic inequalities that this country has been grappling with. And although that has been a legacy, lots and lots of improvement have been made. Unfortunately, we have not been able to eradicate it at 100% level as yet. And perhaps that is the reason we still receive these complaints and we still receive the tragic incidences that you've referred to now.
And one of the mandates of the South African Human Rights Council includes investigating complaints of human rights violations. Can you tell me about how far you may be with the investigations around these particular complaints?
So I can almost say that pit toilets has been a perpetual investigation. You've indicated now that we've grappled with this matter for years, and we can even refer back to the Michael Kumape matter in Itumeleng and Limpopo. So we have in the Eastern Cape now reached almost the final stages of an investigative report to almost monitor and give an insight into how far we have come and what steps the department has taken in this respect. Because we have to, like I've indicated before, we have to acknowledge the steps that have been taken. We have to acknowledge that there has been improvement. But from the Commission's side, and as you've indicated, one of our roles is to monitor. Unfortunately, we've also seen that where undertakings have been tabled and undertakings have been made, sometimes on the ground they've not realized, despite reporting back to the department that they are in fact being realized. So that's the level of investigation we are conducting, and we hope to release our report in the near future.
Doctor, what steps have been taken by government, especially in light of the fact that children are still dying?
So there's a lot of programs that we know are in place. The ASIDI program, the SAFE program. In the Eastern Cape alone, we also know that government and business have taken hands. I think about 80 schools have been provided with proper sanitation facilities because of these interactions. But like I've indicated, because of a legacy of neglect, the backlog still remains. But there are still interventions that need to be taken on an urgent basis, because we are not only speaking about access to education here, we are speaking about dignity rights. We are speaking about the right to life, as you've indicated, because in the recent reports, and our report will also reflect on that, children have been losing their lives as a result of falling into these facilities. But then we need to go down to the granularities. What type of facilities are being used at schools? Are they new facilities? Because then we need to start unpacking the infrastructure that is present on those premises, such as ventilated pit toilet latrines, or whether it's in fact flushing toilets. These all play a role in how responsive the department have been in their requirements to serve to access to basic education for children within this province and as well as nationally.
All right, Doctor, can you share with us some case studies of the work that has been done by the Council so far that has resulted in a positive impact?
So from the Human Rights Commission side, we've consistently monitored in all our provinces. We have open investigations as well. But what you must remember is that the norms and standards of infrastructure for education already determines what needs to be done when it comes to pit latrines. And that is a binding piece of regulatory framework that the department needs to be abiding by. Now, in terms of even court cases, the Commission has noted, even back from the Michael Komape matter, even recent matters in the Eastern Cape and the Beshu Court as well, there has been so many structural interdicts to basically tell the department, eradicate pit toilets. We know about the president's intervention as well. But here we are. We are still sitting with these structures. We are still sitting with them posing a dangerous environment for learners. So we need to go back to the drawing board to see what is in fact the issue here. And perhaps one of the reflections that we have made it sometimes does come back to budgetary constraints. And like I've indicated, that what is going on the ground is not necessarily reflected at the departmental level. So the department might be indicating to the Human Rights Commission that there are contractors on the ground, and our monitors, as they have done in this week, would come back to us to say, in fact, there's no one at the premises of the school.
All right, let's talk future steps now. What are the Commission's future plans and strategies to ensure that Eastern Cape schools essentially have dignified and safe sanitation facilities?
So what we hope to do is, as I've indicated, we are busy finalizing a report in this respect. But again, I'm going to reflect on the fact that we have structural interdicts in place in South Africa. The court has pronounced on this on numerous occasions. So what else? What else are we going to do? And that is why we really need to unpack what has been done, what still needs to be done. And again, I'm going to indicate back to the fact that a lot has been done. There has been massive progress made. But unfortunately, sometimes the schools that have not been addressed, and I think from an official report that we've seen recently, is that about, from the department side, more than 70 schools have not been addressed in the province. We are looking into the authenticity of that number through our monitoring endeavors, but we need to go back to the drawing board and say, if the court has pronounced on this, if the president has intervened, if the norms and standards on the minimum norms and standards on infrastructure already determines eradicating traditional pit toilet latrines, where are we failing? And that is what we hope to address as well in the report.
All right, we're also joined now by Itumeleng Motihabane from Equal Education. Itumeleng, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, so just weighing in on the issue of pit toilets and the dire situation really essentially in the Eastern Cape. Tell me about some of the work that you have done on the ground to alleviate the situation.
Now, one of the first things that Equal Education did was to make sure that we go to court and through law, we were able to make these structures illegal. That was over 10 years ago when the Department of Education itself said that the law of norms and standards for public school infrastructure, making plain pit latrines illegal. Now, 10 years later, we still have about 506 schools within the Eastern Cape, as per the Eastern Cape Department of Education's latest report, that still have these structures. Now, this tells you that in a space of 10 years, there's been no political will to eradicate these structures. But secondly, the Department of Education, we've engaged them, we've protested, we've gone to court, we've used all avenues that we possibly can as a social movement to make sure that we show them the urgency of this issue. But until now, we see very little political will to entirely eradicate this structure.
And what is next for you now?
So as Equal Education, as you would know, that just before the election, Umam NG, the former Minister of Basic Education, she changed the law of norms and standards for public school infrastructure, removing the deadlines that were there. And so as Equal Education, we think that one of the biggest things right now is that that law must be reversed, and it must include deadlines again, because without deadlines, it's hard for us as a social movement and as schooling communities to be able to hold the department accountable. But secondly, it's the issue of data. the Department of Education in the Eastern Cape has not submitted the norms and standards report for 2 consecutive years. And as Equal Education, we've been pioneering for those reports so that we understand and we know what's in the ground. And so this is the work that we continue to do, to ask for better information. But I know in the next few months, we as Equal Education in the Eastern Cape are doing a school visit again to understand just the issue, particularly with schools that we feel are urgent needing attention from the Department of Education to resubmit those lists and make sure that we have accurate information in the absence of the reports from the Department of Education.
Itumeleng, as a representative of equal education in the Eastern Cape, what would you like to say to the new minister now?
She must prioritize school infrastructure. Without the correct environment for learners to be able to learn, they will never be able to succeed. Without dignity and feeling like they're prioritized by the Department of Education, we will never be able to close the inequality gap. So as Equal Education, we're asking the minister to prioritize 2 things, which is school infrastructure within that influences the environment, but inside, to pay attention to the reading crisis. We've seen the PILS report that says 78% of our learners in grade 4 cannot read for meaning. That is a crisis that will land this country into a skills deficit in the future, and she needs to take an important step in correcting it. And that will be done if she forms relationships with social movements like Equal Education that are close to the ground. We've seen her meeting with SATU, and we're looking forward to meeting with her as well as Equal Education. But we wanted to say to prioritize these 2 things, school infrastructure and reading.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. All right, so that was Itumeleng Motihabane, who is from Equal Education in the Eastern Cape, as well as Dr. Eileen Carter, the Head Commissioner of the South African Human Rights Commission.